folks, I have started the recording. So quick disclaimer, one more time, this call is being recorded. If you don't wanna get recorded and maybe place our recording on the YouTube channel, so if you're not comfortable with it, you may wanna drop off now. So once again, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. We are gonna talk about IoT Hub support for virtual networks. That's our topic. Just like we always do, we are going to spend a few minutes, a quick level set on Azure IoT Hub and the Azure IoT ecosystem, kind of spend a few minutes on that. Then we will go into uh, that particular feature that we are talking about, support for private link and managed identity. Um, and we will also discuss why these features are key in making the enterprise customer um, deploy their applications and their devices and making them secure. So we will look at that as well. And what are some of the use cases? And of course, demo and all that. So just quickly, what is Azure IoT Hub? Azure IoT Hub, as you know, is an Azure service that serves as a device gateway. Goal of this service is connect to the devices. That devices can be your thermostat, that can be, um, you know, a, um, a sensor, temperature sensor running in an oil rig somewhere. It can be any device. It can connect to millions of devices. And one important thing is it can communicate. I mean, it can uh, get messages from those devices, and at the same time, it can talk to those devices as well. So it can send commands to those devices. So, for example, let's say that there is a device that needs an update. It can send that, or it device that need to change its status to something else. It can send a command to that device. So that's how you can use it as a central gateway to manage all the devices. And some of the key messaging pattern, as I said, I mean, getting telemetry of the devices, sending messages to the devices, all of these um, are supported by Azure IoT Hub. And one thing I want to mention here is that there is a kind of a question comes up like what is um, IoT Hub and what is Event Hub? What's the difference? And we will spend a minute on that as well. The reason is most of these, and just want to take a step back, most of these sessions that I do are based on my discussions with one or other customers and those questions that come up. So that's our basis of these sessions. So that's why I just want to address some kind of those questions. So I'm sure if I'm having those questions, or my customers are having those questions, so I'm sure you or your customers may be having those questions as well. And once again, one more thing, any opinion kind of that expressed by me in these sessions are strictly mine and don't represent Microsoft, necessarily represent Microsoft's opinion. Okay. So this is kind of a high level architecture that we are talking about. You have edge devices, IoT devices, they're talking to the cloud gateway, which is Azure IoT Hub. And then it's kind of getting this data. That data may be transformed through a function and then sending it to a warm path store where it's being analyzed in real time. On the other hand, it may go through stream analytics for any alert processing or live reporting, all of that. So this is a high level diagram. I, any detailed discussion into it is kind of out of scope of this 30-minute session. So, just want to share it. That's how it fits in the high level IoT ecosystem. Okay. And then the point that I brought up earlier, Event Hub and IoT Hub. just keep in mind, Event Hub can only receive messages from the devices. That's, I mean, if you just want to do like a quick 1 minute uh, or like a 10-second or what elevator pitch kind of differentiation, Event Hub can only receive messages from the devices. Devices can send messages to it and it can receive it, and they can be event producers, and then event consumer can consume those events. You know, on the other hand, IoT Hub can not only receive messages, it can send messages as well. And one of the key difference which may push you in the direction of IoT Hub is support for protocols. Like we have a customer, and the question came up, can they go with IoT Hub or Event Hub? Though their scenario was kind of very simple scenario, getting telemetry from the devices, but those devices communicate over MQTT. That's why, um, and that protocol is not supported by Event Hub. So that's why IoT Hub is the tool of choice. And of course, it provides a lot of other features like per device identity, ability to upload files into the device, and things like that. So these truly a device gateway. You know, that you wanna use. Okay, any questions? Okay, so let's jump into our topic. And most of the time, we are going to be spending in a portal. So this is probably the last slide that you will see. Um, so why? So for what this feature is. So first of all, when you create an Azure IoT Hub, it is available over the public internet. So devices can connect to it over internet. Internet and then send telemetry to it or receive messages from it. That's how it works. But in a number of organizations, they have devices that are within their virtual network, okay, or within their kind of intranet, I should say, not virtual network, and they don't want these devices to communicate to IoT Hub over internet. Or they may have devices that are running that they don't want to expose that data going over the internet. They worry about data exfiltration and things like that. That's where there's the need to have the ability to connect to IoT Hub over through a virtual network over private endpoint comes in. So now with that, IoT Hub now have the support uh, for and for that, IoT Hub has the support to connect to it over a private endpoint. So you can create a private endpoint and you can drop it in a virtual network. And if that virtual network is accessible by the devices, they can communicate through that. You can do VNet peering if those devices on a different network. But in any case, all the good things that are available as a part of uh, being a private endpoint, are available in this scenario. So, and once again, I hope you know about private endpoint and private link, the ability to access first party and third party services over a private endpoint in a virtual network. So that's what capability is there. And by the way, you can have both. So you can have, let's say you have devices that you have in your intranet environment that need to connect over a private endpoint, but then there are other devices that are running somewhere else that need to connect to a public internet. So those devices, so you can have both. You can have the public access and you can have the private access. And for the public access, you can apply IP filter, and we will take a look at that. So that's how you secure that. Um, kind of provide that IP firewall security for external devices or devices that access it over public internet. Any questions? Okay, so how about the other side of the traffic? This is ingress into the IoT hub. How about egress from IoT hub to other device to other services, I should say. I'm sorry, like storage, like you have event hubs. How that will work? So that's where the second piece of this discussion will come up. That will be accomplished through trusted services and managed identity. Okay, so and and I really like that approach, and I will tell you, I mean, why in a second. But how does that work is, if you look at and we will look in the demo as well, in the networking section of certain services, you have, okay, allow access from private endpoint from certain network, and then you have allow access from trusted services. And then if you look at information, it shows you a number of list of trusted services, which are the services which can access that particular service. Like in the case of storage, you have IoT Hub, Event Hub is a list of trusted services. So what you're saying is, I trust these Azure services to connect to my storage account, even though when there is no network, I mean, if I block all access to my storage account, these services can still access it. And then you but that means any of the trusted service instance can access it. And then you narrow it down by using the managed identity of the service that you intend to access your storage account. So basically, you go in and you give that service managed identity access. And we will look in the demo to make it. The good thing is, number one, there is very little management overhead, in my opinion, because you just need to click a checkbox for trusted services, and then you just need to give access to that managed identity of, let's say, Event Hub or IoT Hub, in this case, to the storage account. That's all there is to it. And the biggest thing is, there is no cost to it. Because if you create a private endpoint, just keep in mind, private endpoints are not free. You are charged for it. Okay, but the whole this uh, trusted services model, there is no charge. It's available as free. So with that, let's jump into a demo. And before that, any questions? Okay, so let's go in here. So first of all, I have created an event hub. I just want to show it to you. This is the event hub that I have created. And if we go into the networking section, so let's first talk about the private endpoint. As you can see, I am blocking all public access. This is the outbound address of my router, so that's I allow it. And then I have the private endpoint that I have created. So this event IoT hub I have created in South Central region, and then I have created a private endpoint to drop it in a VNet, and I have a VM running over there in that VNet so it can access that private endpoint. Okay. The creation of private endpoint is very simple. I'm sure if you have created a private endpoint, you have seen this wizard. So it goes in, I mean, you give it a name, and then you pick your region where you want to create it. I want to create South Central US. Then you pick a resource. In this case, yes, that's the resource that you want to create for. You pick a virtual network and, Nick, and then it will ask you, do you want to, okay, sorry, I think I picked the wrong Nick. Let me just do this. Yes. And yeah, let's do the storage subnet. Then it will ask you what is the DNS. And by the way, it will require two DNS entries, one for Azure devices and one for service bus dot windows dot. So these are the two entries that you will, I mean, if you're doing it through a wizard, it will automatically be created. But if you're doing each step manually, then you will have to create these two private DNS zones. Okay. With that, and attach it to the network. So with that, once you do it, very simple. You create the private endpoint. Everybody with me so far? So I'm not going to create a private endpoint. I already have one. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go in here in my VM. So this is my virtual machine that I have. And in that virtual machine, I am running this device. And as you can see, I can, since all access is blocked, I can just still able to simulate the device. So I can communicate to the IoT Hub through that private endpoint, as you can see here. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to uh, go into the command prompt on my machine. I'm going to bring it here and send some test messages to the device. So let's see. As I'm sending test messages, those test messages are appearing here. So very simple. I mean, you have the ability to communicate. So it can both, IoT Hub. You can send messages to Event Hub. IoT Hub, and you have both public and private connectivity. From my machine, I am connecting to the public endpoint. I'm using IP firewall to protect it. You saw the IP address of my router. On the other hand, in in that particular um, VNet, I am dropping a private endpoint, and there is a VM running, and that the VM that you see on the left-hand side window, that's where I am able to communicate to Azure IoT Hub, over a private endpoint. And so that's very simple. And just to kind of take a little bit of deeper look, let's go into the resource group and let's take a look. And you will basically see this private endpoint. This is the private endpoint we are talking about. And if we go into the DNS configuration, these are the two DNS that are created, you know, um, and these are their FQDNs. This is the private DNS zone, private link dot dev dot. So let's go in here. This is the private DNS zone, and what we can do is we can look at this, what that is. So this is the first entry. This is our um, private link to the event hub. And if I go into my, um, and by the way, this is my VM running here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to CLS and I'm going to do, so yeah. So basically, I mean, if I uh, try to find out where this NS lookup on this one, it will show me this is the private IP address. Okay, so very simple. I mean, we just set up the private endpoint, all the connectivity is there, and we are able to communicate it. So this is the ingress. Just keep in mind, this is the ingress into IoT Hub. What about egress? What about when the data from IoT is need to be sent to other devices, or sorry, other services like Event Hub or storage account or Azure function? How does that thing will work? So let's take a look at that. Um, by the way, any questions? Hope everybody making sense to everyone. So let's go back to our event hub. So this is that. So let's look at IoT hub. I'm sorry for I'm just keep messing it up. So this is your IoT hub, and then as we keep going down here, there is something called, so first of all, you have to set up the identity. So I have already set up system managed identity for my event hub. And I'm saying that this is I've turned it on. So now there is an identity associated with my event hub, IoT hub. And that identity I can use when I'm providing access to other services. So let's go into here and so let's go into here. So these are some of the built-in endpoints and all. Then we have the file upload and all of that information. And what I'm looking for Just give me 1 second. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. So these are the endpoints, um, you know, uh, that are available. 1 second, man. Something is okay. That's not it. Sorry, go, folks. I am having some mental lapse. Okay, I think it may be a different event hub. That's the right one. Okay, 1 second. Let me just go back to the resource group. I have set up some information, so let me just go back here. Yeah, let me go in here. And yes, because that's what I was looking for. I think I set up in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, folks. Forgive me. I think I set up some stuff because I didn't want to take time to set that up, and it seems like it has disappeared for some reason. So give me 1 second. Let me just uh, go in here. Yes, that's the one. So yes, so that's I was referring to. So let's say that you want to connect from your device, from your IoT hub into the event hub. What to do in that case? First of all, what you have to do is pick your um, use your managed identity and give access, appropriate access in that event hub. So, for example, let's go into the this is the event hub that I have, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the event hubs here, and then in the identity and access control, I am going to do a new role assignment, and assignment would be uh, event hub data sender. So basically, we need IoT hub managed identity access as event hub data sender. Okay, we go in here, and then we basically use the managed identity and sorry, previous. And for that, we're going to go in here, select the managed identity. We have an IoT hub, and there's only one. They really simplify this interface, so I really like it. And with that, you review and assign. And at that moment, what you can do is you can go into so role assign. So I already have that role assignment, so don't worry about it. This already have created. But one other thing you can do in that event hub now, you can go into networking. And as you can see, I have selected network and I have no network here. So basically all access to it blocked except from my um, PC. That's the only access. And I'm allowing trusted Microsoft services. Okay. So I'm allowing trusted Microsoft services, only allowing access to that particular managed identity. That's all. And now what I can do is I can go into this and I can um, add access to that particular event hub. I can just call it test EP, and I can pick the event hub namespace. this is my Event Hub namespace. This is my Event Hub instance, and I can use the system assigned managed identity. It's grayed out because sorry, I'm the wrong Event Hub. Sorry, folks. Once again, I'm screwing up this demo. So let me go back in here. Let me go back to this Event Hub. Yeah, so this is, already there is some detail. Let's just turn that on over there. 1 second. Let's go in here and turn on the managed identity. So we can go in here and turn it on. So just keep in mind, you have to use, I mean, you want to use managed identity, but you have to turn it on. If that is not turned on, then that option will be grayed out. So now we have turned it on. So now if we go back in here and in the custom endpoints, we can go in and we can say, okay, go to Event Hub and just say test EP and pick the namespace. This is our namespace. This is our Event Hub, and we can use system identity and we can create it. So that's how it will work. So just two sides of it. Sorry for causing the confusion. I kind of got confused with the two event hubs, IoT hubs that I have created. First step is create the managed identity of your for your IoT hub. Second step, whatever resource that you are using, allow your that IoT hub managed identity access to that appropriate access to that resource. I think for Event Hub, it is Event Hub sender. For storage, is blob data contributor, things like that. So you give the appropriate access, and I have the document link in the end of this presentation, which um, goes over uh, some of these things. So this is very well documented. Once that is done, you come back here and you set up, this event hub routing, and basically pick the appropriate event hub and give this access based on the managed identity. Just keep in mind, at that moment, you can block off all, if you want, block off all public access to your event hub. So it's will totally over Microsoft network without exposing or any risk of data exfiltration. So I think that's a very powerful feature. Any questions? I know we are right on time.
Hey, Naveed, this is Ankit. I have one question. I don't know, this is out of context. I don't have much context related to IoT Hub and Event Hub. Just wanted to know, like, uh, the lab that you just showed, right, where we are picking data from the Event Hub, right? What are
Mhm.
we really like achieving here? Like some of the APIs sending the data to Event Hub, and from Event Hub, and IoT Hub is pulling the data and then pushing it to the devices. Is it?
And so basically what happening is device is sending data to IoT Hub, and then IoT Hub is sending data to Event Hub for further processing. So basically you may have a central Event Hub where all different types of data coming in. So that's what it may be doing. So you are basically using IoT Hub as a device gateway and then sending data to an Event Hub where you have subscribers and things, event consumers and all attached and processing this data. So that's the scenario.
So thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions, folks? Okay. Um, Thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining, and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. And have a wonderful rest of your week and great weekend.
Thanks, Naveed. Appreciate it.
Yeah.